Hello, everyone, in new episode of Marwa Khalid podcast, where we talk about how we can help Sudan, how we can help in rebuilding Sudan, how we can help ourselves to heal, maybe to pick up ourselves up and try to start again, and also try to raise awareness and try to help you and maybe anyone who's listening to us right now understand more about Sudan, understand more about the conflict in Sudan, and try to support and stand in solidarity with Sudan. So today we want to see Sudan through the eyes of the friends of Sudan. Anastasia Lvarina, journalist, TV journalist who came to Sudan, did a fantastic documentary and a report about the situation in Sudan. She visited many cities and had many interviews with the people and also with the officials in Sudan. So today we're going to have a conversation with her about the story she uncovered, the meaningful moment that she had, and also her message that she wants to convey to the Sudanese people and to the international community. So I'm happy to have with me today TV journalist Anastasia Lvarina. Hi and hello to have you here for the first time in Marwa Khalid podcast and hopefully not the last.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mara. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a big honor for me to join your show, which is very famous. You always have an interesting conversation with your viewers and the guests. So I'm very excited about that.
And I'm excited too. And thank you so much for even be patient today in order to fix all the things and be ready. All those technical things. So I'm so happy that to have you here today with me. And I'm so excited to have a conversation with you about my country, Sudan. So let's dive in this conversation, Anastasia. First of all, yeah. So starting when you heard about Sudan, you heard about that there is a country named Sudan. What is your goal from the visit? And what is your perspective? And what do you want to gain from this report when you heard that you are supposed to go to Sudan? Or maybe you chose that?
Well, I work for A News. That's a global channel based in Baku, Azerbaijan. We are quite a new channel, established only a bit more than 1 year. But since the beginning, we had a very important objective to tell the stories. Apart from the news and reports, we are trying to bring the stories from different corners around the world to our audience to make sure that the voices of everybody and everyone is being heard. And within our project called Frontline, we are visiting many countries, including African continents, to make sure that the stories are also uncovered. And Sudan was in my mind since the beginning because I have heard a lot about your country, but not in detail. I read a lot, but never seen that. I knew about the conflict from distance, and I saw the pictures, the videos, how Sudan and Khartoum and Omdurman were beautiful before the conflict started in April 2023. So, since the start of this project called Frontline, I was thinking about the idea to go there, and we are lucky to have the embassy of Sudan here in Baku, which is quite active. By the way, the ambassador of Sudan arrived to Baku just some months before, and he is already very doing quite active job. But my visit was organized before he arrived in Baku, so yes, I started to work on this idea, and I was lucky enough to get an approval accreditation, and me and my team traveled to Sudan to see on the ground what is happening there, how people are struggling, how people are surviving, what kind of challenges they're facing. Being a journalist, of course, it's very important to speak, but it's also important to see. And from the prism of own understanding of the situation, to speak about those realities. So, Sudan actually it's a unique case. The conflict is going there. You yourself know better, more than 2 years already, and more than 150,000 people already died. 12 million people fled their homes, And United
Mm-hmm.
Nations is calling this crisis as the world's largest humanitarian crisis. But unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
again, there is not that much information about this is appearing in the media sources.
Actually, this is what I'm about to ask you, that nobody knows anything about those numbers that you said. Anyone, after the situation in Al-Fashir, after that people start calling and asking if there is a war in Sudan. Not even no one knows anything about that. So I'm glad that you raised this up.
You know what's interesting? When we were there, when we visited Khartoum, the capital, which was
Mm-hmm.
completely destroyed, all buildings, everything. And I mentioned one sentences in my speech while presenting from there on the
Mm-hmm.
ground. I said that
Mm-hmm.
Khartoum may be free, but the real work is to start right now because a lot of work has to be done to rebuild the city.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Yes.
investments are needed. And being there, meaning that you take a picture of any building, then you found the same building the same picture of the same building in the internet, and you can put them
Yeah.
together to compare. Then you understand the scale of destructions. But I cannot understand by myself why people are trying to ignore this crisis. We should understand now that the crisis in one country also affects
Mm-hmm.
the situation, economic perspectives in other bordering states, in other countries. And Africa, yes, it's another.
And Sudan position is different. Yeah, Sudan is in the heart of Africa, and also it's the door to Africa. So they should actually focus on that. But somehow no one knows about it, and media, I don't know if they meant to, or especially international media or Western media, they didn't focus on that much until Al Fashir now. No one talks that much. It's not a headline even.
We heard about active discussion about Sudan's and situation there when, unfortunately, the cholera also
Mm-hmm.
was very much spread in the country. Actually, it happened almost the same time we were in a country in May 2025. Then the United Nations officials and some other representatives of the international organizations started to speak about the crisis in Sudan and the importance to
Mm-hmm.
assist the people. But the conflict is still on the ground more than 2 years, and people are fighting and people are dying. And when we were in Khartoum, we met with some families, with some civilians, and we asked them, why
Yeah,
don't you leave this place? Because it could be quite dangerous for you to stay here. And they said, no, it's our motherland, it's our lands, and we don't want to run
exactly.
to somewhere. We even met a doctor there, and we had an interview with him asking
Mm-hmm.
why he decided to stay there with his family. He was saying that it was quite dangerous, and he even refused to work with RSF, despite the fact that RSF was producing a very good money for him and other doctors who could help to their, let's say, injured people and etc. I mean, from the
Mm-hmm.
RSF. But he said no because people are the man is what he is doing.
He doesn't want to betray his country. Yeah.
He didn't want to be a part of that group. He wanted
Yeah.
to fight for a better future of his country. And now he's calling everybody, Sudanese who are living far away from Sudan, let's say in Europe or
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else, to assist the country as much as possible to come back because the number of refugees is still continue to grow and people are
Yeah. Because
trying to
yeah, so
escape. Yeah, people
yeah,
are trying
so
to escape the war.
no, and yeah, and still, this is also the role of media, because they don't know and they don't understand now. Until now, this is the situation in Khartoum now is better. No one knows about that until now. Now they still feel like Khartoum there is a conflict or war in Khartoum. But you raised a very important thing, that when you talked about the people and the citizen that you actually talked to and heard from them, when they talk to you, you talk to many people, what is the common thing that you find it between all the people who talk about the violations that happen to them? What is the main thing that trending around all the citizens, that what they say to you? What is the thing that you, is not about the meaningful experience, no, about the violations itself? So what can
There are
you
some things, actually, some things which people wanted to share with us. First, of course, scarcities. They face the lack of food, the
mm,
lack of water, the lack of the proper places for living after the
Mm-hmm.
fighting, because as I mentioned, Khartoum and Omdurman, they are completely destroyed. There's still a lot of
Mm-hmm.
military posts you have to cross over there. So they're speaking about the lacks, they're facing the challenges, but at the same time, they were very happy to see how their city is being liberated. So now there is a new term of the life. They are so much excited about the future. They're so much excited about the process of rebuilding the places where they.
After the army reclaimed Khartoum from the RSF.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So we were
Mm-hmm.
lucky enough to be there after some days, and they were indeed very much excited. And I met some women
Mm-hmm.
there, and I asked what
Mm-hmm.
was the key lesson for women in this conflict, and they told that they became even stronger because while their husbands, their fathers were fighting, were trying to protect the families, the women also were fighting to protect the children, to manage finding the food, the water, and so on. That's
Yeah.
why the women are very strong in your country. And they're
Yeah.
saying that now we are feel capable enough to contribute to the process of restorations. I saw the real hope in their eyes. And I were myself, I was happy also to see that probably there is the end of the war. And so when in October I heard news about new phase of escalation, about the number of killed people, what is happening now in Al Fashir
Al-Fashir.
city,
Yeah.
I was so much disappointed. It's like, oh my gosh, those people, they had a hope. They were hoping that this is the end and probably they will have a long lasting peace. And after some months, I
Yeah.
don't know what's happening there. There's so bad news we are hearing from that part,
And you
from the
know that United Nation today have an official visit to Darfur, and the high level official who is visiting now is Tom Fletcher right now in Darfur, and he's not allowed even to get to Al-Fashir, which mean the situation is uglier than anyone can see. And now Yale University is talking about the graves that they are buried for to bury the big numbers of people they killed. That's been seen by satellites. And also I wanted to comment on something you said about the women of Sudan. I want to share actually my experience in this because I lived in the war for 3 months inside Khartoum. So I know exactly what those ladies are talking about. And I know maybe the experience are different and the violation that they went through and maybe what strengthened them is different. But I do understand because when you have, like me, for example, I had sometimes to walk long kilometers just to find maybe some supplies for my parents with me in home. So I need to take care of them. So I had to walk those long kilometers just to find a pharmacy, just to try to provide some help for them, you know, and that an experience that I never did before. I never walked these kilometers. I never had to struggle to find the basic needs for my daily things. This has never happened before. And I was blessed enough that I didn't have to face the RSF and see and experience the violations, but I do feel a little bit of what the ladies in Omdurman said. So through this program, I salute all the ladies in Sudan and all the ladies around the world who are suffering and facing the same struggle that we faced in Sudan. So, Anastasia, yeah, I know also through this visit you met with some officials in Sudan and you had a talk. So, I want to know what is the difference between maybe their perspective. Is it different from the civilian perspective, or they do have a different point of view? What do you actually learn from those interviews?
Well, we asked different questions from the officials and civilians, as
Mm-hmm.
officials are more responsible for the internal and external affairs. Therefore, the key question was how do they see the development of this conflict and whether there is still a possibility for a peaceful resolution. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
we met with Mr. Khalid Al that time he was a Minister of Culture and Information. So he said that this conflict was provoked by the outside forces. So during the investigations, they captured a lot of weapons which were produced, let's say, which were made not in Sudan, but were transferred from outside. Even some
Mhm.
French weapons, let's say, we had a chance to shoot the cars actually, which were
Mhm.
imported there, which were delivered. That means what's happening there is also the results of the external interference.
Mhm.
Um, to be honest, they are a bit optimistic. I mean, the officials about the army, about the security system. And even I asked the question about Port Sudan because a couple of weeks before our arrival,
Mhm.
Port Sudan were attacked by drone. Before
Mhm.
that, it was considered as the most safe place in the country, and all the officials are now were stated in Port Sudan. But after this attack, everybody understood that even Port Sudan could be violated. I mean, security can be violated there.
And I
So
think this is a proof of outsider intervention in the city, in this conflict in Sudan, on this the war in Sudan. There is people who are playing part in the, which is I'm allowed to say, so I'm gonna say it, which is the United Arab Emirates, who is playing a big part in this and fueling the RSF around Sudan. So we know that, and I think this is shared between the civilians and the officials in Sudan. They all know who we supposed to accuse right now. But please finish your point.
yeah, I mean, the official point was that there is a high level of security to be provided by the military forces. I mean, the official government military forces to protect the Port Sudan. Then
Mhm.
we spoke about the necessity of the external support in the process of restoration because the investments are needed for Sudan at the moment.
Mhm.
Then the reaction of the international community, the reaction of the United Nations, it's not enough to talk about this only about the
Mhm.
crisis in Sudan. It's also very important
Mhm.
to provide the necessary support to the government and to the people there to make sure that the restoration is going smoothly and that the conflict is over, it's stopped. Without that procedure, it will be continued, and it will affect the civilians. It will affect the ordinary
Mhm.
people. If the crisis is escalated, more refugees will flee to other countries, to Libya, let's
Mhm.
say, and further to Europe, to Italy, to France. If Europe, let's say, wish to stop this crisis, migration crisis, they should care about this on the ground in the countries where it's actually
Mhm.
escalated. Therefore, that was an official point of view. But again, what we saw there, more or less, the official position and the position of the civilians are overlapping in many aspects.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on the idea of the importance of rebuilding and attract more of the investors to come to Sudan, because I think this is a crucial point, especially that's why my program focus on this, because I believe that even if we focus on the political situation, we need also to highlight this part, because if we want the people to return to Sudan, we need to focus on investors. And as well, we cannot do this by ourselves. We need our friends around the world to help us. Also, you mentioned something about how the refugees number will grow, and I agree with you. And I believe one of the things that actually that will now the people, or maybe the Westerns, start to realize that the danger of the number of refugees that will come to them after the escalation in Al Fashir, and also the areas in West in Kurdufan, like Bara and other areas. They didn't know the level of the danger that they will face, of the number of refugees that will come to them. Because I believe as well that for the last 600 days, the Sudanese government was speaking about the situation in Al Fashir and the siege around the city, and how this is going to create more crisis outside the outside Sudan and on the region, but somehow no one listened and the media was not there. So I
You know
hope
what's interesting?
now. Yeah, yeah.
You know what's interesting? Sorry for interrupting.
No, no, no.
Since the
Please.
beginning, our documentary Sudan Fight for Survival got a lot of views from all around the world, a lot of comments, and now it takes the first position in our YouTube channel, over 200,000 views. And since the
Wow.
latest escalation, the number of viewers it's growing, meaning that the people are interested to know. The main thing now is to make sure that media is providing the correct information, better being there from the ground, to provide the correct, the right and timely information to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And probably
Mm-hmm.
it will also help because sometimes the voices of ordinary people loud more louder than it sounds louder than the voices of the officials. It
Exactly.
attracts the attention. Uh, I want to bring another example. When we were there, we were lucky enough also. I wouldn't say even lucky because it's not a proper good world. Uh, we visited Salha 5 days after it was liberated. Can you imagine the
Wow. So
bodies?
you are the first media actually to be there.
Yeah, we were the first
This
and
is,
I guess the only media, and we
yeah.
saw still the dead bodies on the
Oh my
streets.
God.
We visited the place where the mass grave discovered. The mass grave. It's 21st century, but still the mass grave, which was covered more than a year. The bodies were hidden. So international community couldn't see anything. The journalists were not allowed to enter that place. It was quite dangerous also
Yeah.
because everybody, when the latest escalation started, and I just asked my friends, is it allowed for journalists to go there in El Fasher? And they told no, because RSF will not ask who are you. They will kill you,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
especially if you're a journalist. So when we saw what was happening there, we saw the houses which were completely destroyed, which
Mm-hmm.
was actually many things were stolen. So the IDPs who will come back, they will find their empty homes. So
Mm-hmm.
they also need support. Then we spoke with one very good gentleman. He impressed me a lot. He's a volunteer. His name is Woman, and together with his
Mm-hmm.
team, he is quite neutral. He does not support the government or RSF. He's saying that I'm working with people, so I don't care about many things. I want to have a stability and security in my country. And he spoke
Mm-hmm.
about his team. He spoke about the work, how they are volunteering, providing very simple things needed, medical medicine, and first help, first assistance to the people who are in need. And he said that he lost 5 friends within the last couple of
Wow.
years. One of them just was sitting outside and drinking coffee without paying attention to what is happening there, far away
Mm-hmm.
from political situation in the country. And then the drone, there were shootings, and he passed away. He was
Oh
killed.
my
He was
God.
killed. So, and he was speaking with
This is bad.
emotions. He was also injured and he survived. So he was saying that we will continue to do as much as possible. We understand about the danger here. We understand about the difficulties we face, the lack of financial support, the lack of everything. But if we move from here, then the ordinary people will suffer, as there is a still quite unstable situation. So such a simple stories, they are very touchable.
Mm-hmm.
They attract the attention much more than the loud words said by the officials. The simple stories, the stories of the people, the stories of
Yeah.
those who lost everyone, who lost the members of the families. For me, the situation there is very close because probably you also heard my country was in conflict with neighboring Armenia for about 3 decades. Almost 20% of our territory was under the occupation, and we had over 1 million of refugees and IDPs. And we had 4 resolutions adopted by the United Nations Security Council in 1993,
Mm-hmm.
requesting and requiring immediate withdrawal of the troops from Azerbaijani lands, occupational
Yeah.
troops. But unfortunately, none of that resolutions were implemented, and the international community ignored it until 2020, when 44 days of the patriotic
Mhm.
war between Armenia and Azerbaijan brought the justice, and Azerbaijan was able to restore territorial integrity. And now we are working on the level of restoration. In our cities, they were also completely destroyed. Our one of the historical city called Agdam,
Mhm.
it was compared with the Hiroshima because nothing was left there. And now is the process of restoration, the process of signing the
Yeah.
peace agreement, the process of starting the life for many IDPs and forcibly displaced people. So living in this environment for about 3 decades, I'm I understand what does it mean to be IDP? What does it mean to be forcibly
Yeah.
displaced? What does it mean to live with the fear to lose everything? And unfortunately, Sudanese people is surviving there, but they have this hope. They are living on the front line. The lack of water, the lack of food, the lack of security. They don't
Yeah.
know how their life will be next day, but still, they're talking about the future. The mothers are carrying their children and saying that we have to live, we have to survive just because of our children. We will do our best to help our men to bring the peace and stability in the country. Just please pay attention to us. Make sure that this conflict is over in near future. And what they need, it's a more attention from the international community, more pressure on those who are involved and the
Yeah.
interference of the humanitarian missions who will deliver food and some medicaments and etc., which is in
Yeah.
a big need of Sudan. Sudan is beautiful, it's amazing, it's a friendly country.
Yeah.
It's like in case of there is if there is no any conflict, Sudan can play a very important role in the future development of Africa and
Mhm.
the relations between the continents. So why this conflict have to stop and affect the lives of the millions?
Yeah, yeah. I think the only thing that I'm gonna comment on is the people and what you said about them, because what we learned about after this situation, that how precious our land is and how the love for that we are ready to die for this land, because we know this is ours and we need to fight for until the last breath. But as you said, we need the world to learn more about the situation in Sudan. And as you said, the importance of the small stories of the people is the thing that could raise awareness and tell the whole world about us. And as I said in the last episode, maybe the government, the organization could be influenced to control maybe the media about what's happening in Sudan, but you can never control nations when they hear small stories and learn more about the situations in Sudan and maybe other countries like us right now. And I really appreciate your solidarity and the example of what happened in Azerbaijan. And I'm glad that now finally there is a peace and people start to return back to their homes and start their lives and enjoy the peace. So I'm gonna say thank you, Anastasia, for this amazing episode and for those amazing insights. I was ready to ask more questions, but I am running out of time. So I'm going to say thank you so much for this interview. And I hope to have you again in the future, because now I think we are friends now. And we hope that we can coordinate more interviews to talk about maybe the bilateral relations between the countries and the media and how we can build on that.
Did and thank you very much. You're doing an amazing job. You are contributing to the peace restoration. Believe me, you are a huge asset to those peace process, which will finally prevail in your country.
Thank you
And by the
so
way,
much.
coming back to the bilateral relations, I'm happy to read more news about the upcoming, let's say, coordination and development of the relations between Sudan and Azerbaijan, because Sudan already asked Azerbaijan to be among the future investors who will help in the process of restoration. We also know that Turkey is quite have quite
Yeah, Turkey
stable
is good.
relations with Sudan, our neighbors. So probably
Hmm.
together, Azerbaijan and Turkey will be among those who will contribute a lot to the process of restoration of your country, which is still have all chances to restore its political and historical meaning, to again being a very beautiful cities where people will live in peace and solidarity. So once again, thank you very much for everything you are doing.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. And thank you for this amazing word. And thank you to all the people who are listening to me in this amazing special episode of Marwa Khalid podcast. Follow me in the next episode of Marwa Khalid podcast. And I hope this episode was informative and you learn more about the situation in Sudan from the eyes of the friends of Sudan. Goodbye and see you in the next episode. Goodbye.